This is a special Crime Watch, not with new appeals, but deliberately old ones, still unsolved. But with your help, with new clues, we could unravel them tonight. It may seem a long shot, going back years, in some cases several years, but these are all such serious matters that the files on them will never close until these crimes are cracked.
3 years ago, in fact almost exactly 3 years ago, on Sunday, October the 8th, 1995, a woman was raped in a public park just outside Blackburn in Lancashire. As you'll see, it's not a case to give up on. The attacker had probably done it before, and he might well be a danger still.
I've nearly finished the texts, so... Great, I'm just going to have a look at this room. It smells really nice.
Because I'd just finished university, I was quite happy that I had done that, you know, got all my finals out of the way. I had a lot of free time on my hands at that point, and I was just enjoying every minute of it.
Round here in Burnley as well, I've got one there, so...
So if you got one, you could be still living at home then?
Oh, yeah. No,
That's smashing.
See you later!
Normally, when I take the dog for a walk, it's just a quick walk along the fields, but because of the weather, I decided to go into the woods and do one of the circular walks there. I saw a scooter just parked near the entrance of the car park with a man standing near to it. I noticed the man because he was just sort of standing there, looking into the woods, sort of doing nothing. The scooter had a sort of big black box on it, and so it made it a different shape to the other scooters which I've seen like round and about, not a slim line. I love it up there. It is really, really pretty. I've only done the long walk only a couple of times. It's not the usual walk which I do. It was such a nice day. I think everybody had the same idea. And there was a lot of people around, and so you know, you chatted to them and said hello.
Amber! Amber! We're here.
Does she go near any sheep?
No, I've got ring time.
Oh, she's really muddy, look.
Yeah, let's get right there.
Come on then.
The walk usually lasts about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, and I was enjoying it.
Just after we passed the girl, we saw this man jogging towards us. About 5-10 yards before he got to us, he suddenly crouched down, holding his side.
I didn't think he was a jogger, because as he was facing uphill, I would have thought he would have had sweat on his face, but he was not sweating, and he was also crouched over, as if he had a stitch. I'd expect somebody who is a jogger to know that you shouldn't bend over when you have a stitch.
He was about 5'9", 5'10", in his 30s. He had light brown hair, waved to one side. He had quite a round face, but he wasn't fat. It was in the middle of October, and he had quite dark skin, and his eyebrows were well plucked. He looked like he was wearing makeup, almost.
Give it time.
Yeah, sure.
If you scream, I'll let you.
I couldn't breathe at that point, so I couldn't scream or anything. And when he said he had a knife, and that's when it just hit me that something could happen, and nobody knew where I was. was just such a shock, and it happened so fast that I blanked myself out. And so whatever happened, you know, I was sort of protected in this bubble. During the attack, he tried my bra on and said that he was having hormonal treatment for breast enlargement, and at home he used to wear his wife's underwear. The attack lasted about an hour, and throughout I didn't fight back or scream, because he said that if I did, then he'd hurt me. He had a large key ring, shape of a light bulb, with a lot of keys.
Remember, give me 10 minutes. We're watching you.
His voice was quite low and deep, and his accent was from the north.
I'm still watching you.
He did have a beer belly and quite a flabby chest. He was wearing a navy blue tracksuit top with paler blue tracksuit bottoms. Under the top, he was wearing a sort of cerise pink t-shirt, and also his trainers hadn't got laces, but they had the Velcro flaps. He said to me that he'd done this 6 months previously, and that he should have bought his video recorder like he'd done before. It was just so horrific, the worst experience of my life. And looking back, I think I'm, probably escaped with my life. And, I just want him caught him, so he doesn't do it again and doesn't ruin somebody else's life.
A truly appalling attack, one which investigating officers have described as the most horrific they've ever had to deal with. But it didn't end there. 4 days after the attack, a letter posted in West Yorkshire was sent to Blackburn CID. The envelope was handwritten, but the letter was made up of newspaper clippings stuck to a black bin liner, and police are almost certain that that is from the offender. Within 2 weeks, another was sent. Both letters would have taken time to construct. And the following month, a handwritten letter arrived. Although the writing is disguised, someone watching tonight may know whose work this is. Well, Neil Smith, how confident are you that those letters are from the offender?
Well, I'm fairly confident the first letter's from the offender. It contains information that only the attacker could have known
And
about.
This is it, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yes.
It's not small.
No, it's, the significance is that it would have taken quite some time to construct. May well be that the person the attacker lives with may have witnessed that. An associate may have witnessed him actually preparing that. The actual postmarks are also fairly significant. West Yorkshire, Stoke-on-Trent and the West Midlands. I believe the attacker has connections with Blackburn, or maybe from Blackburn, but may have visited these places and been able to visit these places, but that may also have been done to deliberately mislead us.
Now, the rapist told the victim that he was having hormone treatment for breast enlargement. He wore his wife's underwear. If that's true, then someone would know who that man is.
Yeah, I think it's a really bizarre thing to say. He spent a lot of time with the victim and said a lot of things to her. He talked about having hormone treatment for breast enlargement, also about wearing his wife's underwear. Really strange things to say. I think the things that may give people clues as to his identity. Equally, it may have been said deliberately to mislead, but even so, pretty significant.
But it could be fantasy, but as you say, either way, someone would know about his thoughts or proclivities if that's what he wanted to say.
That's right, he might have said these things to partners or associates.
Now, he had claimed as well that he'd offended before in the same area.
That's right, yes, but we've no reports of any attacks. It's really important that if anybody has been subject to any sort of sexual attack, that they contact us. They may just have that bit of information we need to make sure that this person's arrested.
Now, let's look at other items that you'd like eliminated, certainly want information on, and that's that red scooter that was seen in the car park where the victim parked her car.
Yeah, it's really important we eliminate this person. He's always been significant in the inquiry. It may well be that we've not eliminated him because the car park he was seen is frequented by the local gay fraternity. If he is gay, we can treat that information in confidence. We just want him to contact us. We can eliminate him forensically, but we need to get him out of the inquiry.
Neil Smith, thank you very much. And the important thing is, of course, This could happen again. We don't want it to. Call us if there's anything that you can add, even if it's just a suspicion. And please, of course, if you can eliminate any features of this inquiry, such as the scooter, those letters, or if you recognise this man, please do ring now. If you prefer, you can ring Gallop, which is the Gay and Lesbian Anti-Violence Helpline, on 0171 704 2040, and operators or an answering machine will take your information there. Please, as we said, don't let this happen again. Call us here in the studio or the Lancashire Police on 01772 410 410. That's Preston 410 410.
Murders tend to get solved. In fact, more often than people think. In Northern Ireland, where death through the Troubles are included, the figure is 65% solved. In England and Wales, the clear-up rate is 91%. In Scotland, it's 97%. One reason is that police never give up with murders. We're going back now to a shocking killing that provoked a national outcry. It was the murder of a schoolgirl as she walked her next-door neighbour's dog near Exeter in Devon, and because of all the publicity, you might well remember her name, Kate Bushell.
Just can't put it into words to describe the loss. It's been such a big loss. I wouldn't like the person that struck Kate to actually cause another mother, another family, the pain, the suffering that we've gone through.
In our Crimewatch reconstruction, we showed how Kate had spent the morning going shopping. It was Saturday, last November the 15th.
That's all right. Tell me, what did you get?
What?
CDs.
Oh, Lighthouse Family.
Who?
You've never heard of the Lighthouse Family?
No, I haven't.
She could be very adult-like at times. She could also be a very frustrating teenager to me, not to anyone else.
No trainers?
No.
She was a fun-loving child. Good company. Our hope was what she wanted, which was to go to Oxford. Kate had decided that's where she was going, and she'd gone to the high school prepared to work hard to get to the top groups, to get the top grades to go to Oxford. I went up at 4:30 to tell her she ought to go and walk the dog. And she just put her pen down and went.
A father out walking with his children saw Kate on Exwick Lane, and the last people known to have seen her alive were driving along the lane towards Exeter.
Well, actually, when we turn around the lane, it goes into a little bend.
We'll only stay for a little while, just for a cup of tea. She'll be looking forward to seeing us.
And we saw the dog, so my mum slowed right down. She looked quite confident, and then we drove on. Then on the right-hand side, there was a van. And there's a chap stood by the van, and he had his back to us.
No, I haven't seen him before.
I thought, wait a minute, what is he doing there?
Was that you and your van last November? If so, anything you recall might be crucial. It was 100 yards from where Kate was killed.
Went up to the lane in July, just before the funeral. Just looking down from the lane, I don't want to go down to the field, to the actual spot yet. And I then ended up taking a lot of the family up that had come down for the funeral. They actually wanted to go and see the spot.
The inquiry still hasn't managed to trace a vagrant who was seen in Exwick Lane several times in the days before the murder. And there's a new appeal, something that was seen on the weekend that Kate died.
I'd slept in the morning. I got up around 10:30, opened the curtains up, about 11ish, something like that. Just glanced out and saw it then, about a 2 to 3 man tent at the most. It was orange or red, it was a very bright colour. My initial thoughts were it was just kids had been camping out overnight and thought no more of it.
Who was camping outside Exeter in mid-November last year? Again, whoever it was is critical to this inquiry. They almost overlooked the murder site.
It can be silly things that can set me off. I remember being on the train coming down from seeing my mum, and And there was this young mother with 2 young children who got off the train and was obviously greeted by her parents, and that just reduced me to tears, because I thought, I'm never going to see that. I'm never going to have it with my own.
Mike Stevens, you still think this is a local man, the killer, yeah?
I'm almost 90% certain it is a local man, yes, or someone who knows that area.
That means that there are going to be people in the Exeter district who must have at least vague suspicions. Now, how do they turn those vague suspicions into more solid ones?
Well, there's certain things that we may well know about the individual concerned, that he may well be right-handed.
How do you know that?
From the killing itself, the method of killing. That, again, is local to the area or knows the area. He may have owned or does own a blue vehicle and may have worked in slaughtering animals, in particular sheep.
These are all things you think quite probable. Let's come back to that blue vehicle in a moment, that blue van. What else? I mean, what other clues, what other possibilities are there? I know you've had a profile done.
Well, from the profile, we look at the statistics and see what are the best options as far as that's concerned. And certainly, males 18 to 35 are the area we concentrate on. May well have a previous convictions for sex or violence, or anything of a minor nature leading up to those offences. A loner with few friends, may be cruel to animals or had been cruel to animals in the past. Has some pornography, may well keep pornography. And may have difficulty with relationships and difficulty with sexual relationships as well.
Now, you're not saying all these things are true. What you're saying is, if you live in the area and you have any vague suspicion somebody could put, what, 3, 4 or 5 of these together?
Well, any of those combinations may well lead us to an individual who we may be interested in.
Now, you mentioned the blue vehicle, and obviously you've been appealing for that now for, what, 10, 11 months, and still that hasn't, the owner of that hasn't come forward.
That's
It's
right.
still possible it's someone who is entirely innocent of this, hasn't seen the appeals, was there in Exwick Lane in mid-November.
The driver of that vehicle, the person at the back of that vehicle, was very close to where Kate went missing. That person hasn't come forward. Now, we are concerned that someone may be shielding that individual or protecting that individual in some way. Whether that individual had anything to do with the murder, we don't know. But we obviously need that person to come forward, and we need information about that individual.
Okay, supposing somebody is shielding some information, or just can't bring herself or himself to believe that it could be the person they vaguely suspect, what do you say to them?
We are dealing with a horrendous killing. We cannot afford another killing of this nature, and therefore we need that individual, however close they are to that person, to come forward with that vital piece of information.
Well, this murder will be solved in time, but you could take some of the agony out of the process by acting please tonight. You can make sure an arrest happens before the killer commits another offence. 0500 600 600, that's the free call number here to the studio, and the murder inquiry room is on 01392 451 659. That's Exeter, 451 659.
Well, Crimewatch 2 weeks ago produced a flurry of police activity. On the South London bus stabbing, a man has been charged with the murder of Herbie Williams. Over 400 people rang in with information, and the police have asked us to pass on their thanks to everyone who called. There are strong leads as well on several other cases. More details of those in the next Crimewatch in 2 weeks' time. But let's just take a quick look back to Crimewatch Still Unsolved from last year. As a direct result, a man was arrested that night. He's been convicted of 2 charges of theft and 1 of obtaining property by deception. Police say he wouldn't have been caught without callers to Still Unsolved.
You may well recall the tragic murders of Peter and Gwenda Dixon, who were walking on a cliff-top path near their holiday campsite in Pembrokeshire. The senior detective on the case has said the response to the appeal was quite fantastic, with nearly 500 calls. As a result, police are pursuing active lines of inquiry, and there are still several names not eliminated.
And we had 200 calls about an armed robbery in Doncaster 6 years ago, in which one of the guards was seriously injured. Detectives say new information from Still Unsolved made them focus on a team of criminal individuals they hadn't previously considered, and that inquiry goes on.
Now, a new reconstruction and a new crime on which we've not appealed before, but there is a reason for showing it in Crimewatch Still Unsolved, as you'll see as it developed. It happened 4 months ago in West Sussex, in the seaside town of Shoreham.
I was driving home from work when I noticed a white Mercedes van with a man in a balaclava driving it. It was a hot day, so I thought it was a bit strange, and sort of thought to myself, you know, what a prank. Went back about an hour later to pick my son up from school, and this particular white Mercedes van was parked along Harbour Way. So I didn't think any more of it until I read it in the paper a week later that the actual same van was used in the robbery on the following Thursday.
10:20, Thursday the 7th of May.
I went to my bank in East Street, Shoreham. I noticed a security van outside. It didn't take very much notice.
It's a raid! Nobody move! Give me the money!
At first I thought, oh, they must be making a film. But they weren't. It was for real.
Give me the money! No, I can't. Open the box and give me the money! Quick!
Sheer terror was going through my mind. But then it began to clear, and although I was holding on to the rail because my legs just went to jelly, I did keep my mind clear. I've watched Crimewatch and other similar programs, and I thought to myself, I must be observant. It's the least I can do.
I can't give it to you, mate. I can't get the box open. Well, get one of them to do it! I'll blow your legs off! I can't open the box! If you want the money, you'll have to take the box!
My brain was in better gear than my legs. But I thought, he can't get far with a heavy box like that. He must have a getaway car. So I went out after him, but I kept a good distance.
No! No! Get back! Get back!
Having the gun pointed at me was terrifying, and I never slept for days afterwards. I was absolutely terrified, and even now, if I see a car that is cruising up the side of me, I'm still petrified.
I was waiting at the pedestrian lights, and the Cavalier shot straight past me and dived inside before the other traffic had time to move. I thought something was going on. And by the time we got to the little roundabout after the lights had changed, I ended up behind them and just thought, well, if I'm this close, I might be able to see where they're going. It turned right into a close, and I couldn't go straight in there. So I went up to the next turn and turned round. And as I came back, turned into the close, I saw this bloke stuffing something into a white Mercedes van, P-Reg. Turned round as quick as I could because I had a trailer on the back. And by the time I got back, they had sped off.
The gunman had gone right towards the A27, from where they could have headed anywhere. Now, from May 1998, let's go back to August 1996, and scenes you might find familiar. 2 robberies 6 months apart, 2 miles from Shoreham at Southwick, on the way to Brighton. Again, a single balaclavaed gunman followed the guard into the bank, while a stolen car waited outside. Then, 6 months later, February 1997, same location, same crew, same method. As in Shoreham, the escape was reckless and could have killed or injured passers-by. And again, they transferred to a van, this time a dark blue Transit. Each attack leaving people traumatized.
It took well over a couple of weeks before I could even go to my bank again. And that makes me angry that some little bully battening on other people's money can have such an effect on people. It isn't just the robbery, it's the effect that it has on the people who were concerned.
Lee Taylor, you've got lots of witnesses. The people you need to get to now are people close to the gang who've got suspicions about who did it. Now, why, if they haven't called in after 2 appeals on Crimewatch before, should they ring now?
These men are extremely dangerous. We need anybody who has any information at all on the people who have committed the robbery to come forward. It could be that at any time they could commit another robbery where somebody's going to be extremely in danger and is going to get hurt. We also have a £15,000 reward, which we're very keen to give to anybody who can give us the information that leads to the conviction of the offenders. What we really want is somebody with inside information to come forward and give us the names of the persons responsible.
With inside information, they might know the whole lot, or they might have to piece things together. Now, let's take a look at the faces that you've got first. These are the drivers. Could it be the same man? Three witnesses, or three sets of descriptions. Could that be the same man in each offence?
Yes, we believe that it is. Although obviously we do have three different e-fits, we believe that it is the same person.
25 to 30 years old.
They're very similar, 25 to 30 years old. On the last occasion he had medium dark brown collar length hair, which was gelled and spiky on the top, and he also had a lot of stubble on the last occasion.
The gunman himself, you've not got a lot on him, but he's about, I think, 5'10", 6 foot high, something like that. Do you know where these guys come from? Are they local to this area of Sussex? Do you know? Any ideas?
We really aren't too sure. It could be that they are local to the area, but there's also Essex connections, in that the vehicles that were used in each of the robberies were actually stolen some time before the robberies. One of which was in the Essex area, another which was in the North Kent area.
So either they're doing business with people stealing cars in these areas, or maybe they come from there and swing round south.
Absolutely.
To Sussex. This is a gun almost identical to one that we saw on the CCTV there. What's the significance of this? How might somebody close to the gang be able to link this?
We've looked at the CCTV footage and we've made the assumption that it's a .38 handgun revolver that we believe the people are in possession of. What we're really looking for is somebody who may know somebody who's been in possession of one of these guns and can come forward to us with that information.
Okay. Well, if any of these clues rings any bells with you, if you recognise these faces, and remember the reward, the number to ring 0500 600 600, and Lee Taylor's colleagues are standing by in Sussex too. The number there is 01273 665544. That's Brighton 665544.
And now we're going back more than 7 years to another case detectives just won't give up on. It's an intriguing story as well as a tragic one. The victim, Sandy Drummond, was shy and apparently straightforward and reliable. He lived with his brother Jim in an isolated cottage near St Andrews in Fife, and he followed an uneventful routine. But one day, after some unusual events, Sandy was found strangled.
I know Sandy's dead, but until I know why he's dead, it still feels unreal. I've no answers to questions. Why should he die? Of all the people in the world, he would be the last one that you would think would get murdered. He was interested in astronomy, photography, jogging, wildflowers, things like that.
"7 years ago, Rosie Hutchinson used to take the bus past Sandy's cottage. And several times in the spring of 1991, she noticed he seemed to have a visitor.
I used to travel back and forth to St Andrews between April and May. I did notice a car sitting at the houses as we passed on the bus, Orange Marina. The car used to sit there at 11 in the morning when on my way home, or late afternoon at all different times. There was a child on board sticker in the back window.
Who do you know who might have owned this car?
We were very shocked to hear of a murder being so close. A lot of people were very frightened, especially the older generation. It still is frightening that no one has ever been caught.
Sandy worked at the Guardbridge paper mill. He'd been there 7 years.
He was a very conscientious worker. He had a very good attendance and timekeeping record, and his work performance was very good all the time he worked in the mill. Sandy was a very quiet, reserved type person. He really didn't mix with his workmates either at work or socially. And as a result of this, no one could really say they knew Sandy Drummond.
The Friday before he died, Sandy did something completely out of character.
Hello, personnel.
This is Sandy Drummond here. I'll not be coming back to work. Can you send on my P45?
Just a minute, Sandy. We'll need a letter of resignation. You can't just walk out like that.
Aye, okay.
And you really need to give a week's notice.
I'll not do that.
Hi, Roy. I've just had Sandy Drummond on the phone. He's just handed in his notice. It was all a bit strange.
Something else strange happened that afternoon. Sandy started taking a lot of money out of his account. That weekend, Sandy's brother Jim got the first inkling that something odd was going on. This would be Sandy's last evening alive.
Listen, can I borrow the car tomorrow? You can take the bike.
Aye, no problem.
I just need to get away for a few days.
You know working late, no?
No. Listen, Jim, I need to let you know. I've given up my job.
When?
Friday.
Have you got another job?
No. Just wanted a bit of time off.
On Monday morning, another mystery.
Sandy, 7 o'clock. You told me to give you a call.
Soon after Sandy had been woken by his brother, a local man was driving past.
I was on my way to work in St Andrews and must have been something in the region of 7:25. And as I approached Foreside Bend, I saw Sandy emerge from his house at the cottages and run briskly across the road. And I saw he had a bag under his arm. It appeared to me that he wasn't wanting to be seen.
Late that Monday morning, Sandy himself went into St Andrews and again drew out an unusually large amount of money. Was he planning to go away for longer than the few days he suggested to his brother? Was something frightening him? Was he being blackmailed or bullied? At any rate, he left almost nothing in his account. What happened to Sandy after that is known only to whoever killed him. Or did something happen to him first? Was it just coincidence that sometime after lunch, a bus was flagged down by a young man just beside the Drummonds' cottage?
When you go outside the 30-mile limit, that if anybody requires the service bus to stop, the driver stops at the first safe, convenient place. I left Kingsbarn and I seen this boy on the road, and as I drew for it towards him, he stepped up in the bank and then I just drew alongside so as he could step him off the bank and went to the bus.
St Andrews?
Bus station?
No, Lamond Drive.
Single or return?
Single.
65. The handkerchief I observed had blood on it. The bottom parts of his hair were damp with moisture as if he had been sweating. I would say he was in his mid-30s. It just sounded like an ordinary Fife accent. After I picked the boy up, come round the corner and at the left-hand side there's a track that takes you up the side of a field, and I saw the Morris Marina sitting at the side of the track. When I drew into Lamond Drive, I looked up in the mirror and I saw the boy getting up to get off the bus.
This man has never been appealed for until now. Was that you who cut your hand and took that bus 7 years ago? Some 2 hours later, about 4:45, the Marina was seen to pull out from beside Sandy's cottage. An hour or so after that, around 6 p.m, there was no car and no Sandy.
Sandy, are you in?
Jim left the cottage soon afterwards. But someone else seemed to be back there sometime around 7. An hour after that, Sandy's body was discovered on the track where the Marina had been seen parked earlier that day.
When the policeman came to the door, he said that they'd found someone, and I instinctively knew at that moment that it was Sandy. I went along with the policeman to the track, identified Sandy's body. It didn't feel real. It felt as if it wasn't happening. It was Sandy, but you hoped that it wasn't.
Of course, Jim wants the answers, and Doogie Potter, so do you. Do you think after 7 years you are going to be able to solve this crime?
Yes, I do. We've been able to release new pieces of information tonight on the reconstruction. I also believe that there will be people who hold vital information for us, and perhaps with the passage of time they may feel that they can come forward now.
Now, those two new pieces of information centre on, first of all, the man on the bus. You haven't, as we said, we haven't appealed for him until now.
No, that's correct, but the man on the bus went into a housing scheme in St Andrews at Lamond Drive, and I'm sure that he must have went to a house shortly after that, and somebody must know where he went.
Was he local, do you think?
I think he may have been local, or he certainly knows the area. He was able to quote to the bus driver Lamond Drive, which gives a strong indication that he knew the St Andrews area quite well. So yes, he may be local to the area, or know the area well.
And the Marina, now, in the past you knew it was an orange car, but you couldn't specify which make. You're now confident that it was a Marina?
Yes, we are. Mrs Hutchison is a very good witness. She's the janitor at a local primary school, and she's sure of her observations. And we feel that this information, the extended information we'll give about the car, may jog somebody's memory, even though it is a number of years ago now.
And that car was seen parked outside the house for, well, quite a number of occasions.
That's correct. On the day in question, it's important for us that if anybody at all thinks they know who had a car like that at that time, then give us a phone.
I mean, anybody who associated with Sandy, really, you want to hear from. I mean, it seems as if he associated with someone that no one else knew about.
Yes, there are gaps in what we know about Sandy. There's no doubt that he could have had a relationship of some kind with somebody that we don't know about. Perhaps a relationship with a woman. There's been local speculation that perhaps he was a homosexual, or he may have been involved in some other type of situation with somebody that we don't know about. So if anybody knows anything about him at all, contact
Any
us.
piece of jigsaw would be useful. Now, what was interesting, he drew out that huge amount of money, but it was never spent. It was actually found in his house after he died, wasn't it?
Most of the money was found, yes.
Do you think he could have been bullied or blackmailed, or what was he drawing the money for?
I think it's very possible that somebody could have been bullying him or blackmailing him, and that would certainly go some way to explain his behaviour in giving up his job the way he did, and his movements over that weekend, withdrawing the money out and things like that. And yes, that's a strong possibility.
Doogie Potter, thank you very much. And of course it affected his family hugely. Now, I know it's a long time ago, but Crimewatch viewers have sold older cases than this in the past. The number here in the studio is 0500 600 600, or call the Murder Inquiry Room direct on 01592 418 666. That's Glenrothes 418 666.
Already calls coming in on that case, but let me tell you a little bit more about the rape in Blackburn. We've had a tremendous response. 85 calls so far in the studio, probably 150 altogether if you take the incident room. 6 callers have said they've had similar experiences. We've got some information from a detective here from another force that looks very promising indeed. A lot of information coming in the other ones as well, particularly on the Kate Bushell murder.
Well, when people go missing, there's often agonising doubt about whether they've simply walked out or whether something more sinister has happened. Sadly, in our next case, that of Melanie Hall, the police and her family have concluded that she's been murdered. We first reconstructed her disappearance about 2 years ago, with the result that several suspects and one tantalising clue were all eliminated. Well, tonight we want to take you back to where Melanie vanished, in Bath, and to her parents, who are hoping beyond hope that their appeal tonight can finally help them lay their daughter to rest.
Melanie's been missing for over 2 years now. We've both carried on with our lives as best we can, but it's really, really hard. I come round the corner of the lane and I look at the bedroom window and I think I'd give anything for the light to be on and to know that she was home, and she isn't. I manage fairly well during the day, but then just something small, something of hers that I suddenly see will bring it back to me that I'm never going to see her again.
She was actually quite shy, really, and she was equally happy at home here with a book for the evening, as she was going out into Bath, and she certainly wouldn't have gone to Bath on her own. She and Philip, her current boyfriend, and a couple of work colleagues had gone to a barbecue.
Yeah, I got it today. Help me choose it.
That's good, yeah.
Philip. What have we got there? What's the stuff for the barbecue?
And that had finished, I think, earlier than probably they anticipated.
No problem.
Because it was still relatively early in the night, the girls wanted to go to the nightclub.
You have to be the worst driver on the planet. How's that chicken, Steve? No, it's really well.
She would have only gone on to a nightclub as she was part of a group. I mean, she would have never have done that on her own. Philip didn't want to dance, and he eventually went off to the toilet. When he returned, there was another man by then dancing with them in a fairly casual way. He took offence to this and left the nightclub, sat in his car for some 20 minutes.
There you are. Listen, we're going to go now. You are? Yeah, we just both really tired. Oh, right. All right, then, so I'll see you Monday. Okay, see you later. See ya.
What she didn't realise at that time was that Philip had also left the nightclub. She would have found herself alone in that club, and I think she would have been quite frightened then.
No one seems to know what happened after that, but some sightings could have been of Melanie.
I saw a pretty girl sitting there. I was talking to a bloke, like 5'10", with a dark complexion, very tidy dress, black trousers, silk brown shirt, black shoes, and a very flashy watch.
Around 800 people at the nightclub have been tracked down. But who were these two?
A little while later, I seen the couple leave the club together.
Was that Melanie, Saturday night, June the 8th, 1996? And who was it involved in an argument that happened shortly afterwards?
Yes, please. We were heading along Walcott Street towards Cadillac's nightclub. On the way up, we spotted a couple arguing outside the church hall.
Look, just let go of her.
He was giving her a hard time, wasn't he? Yeah, lover's turf. The lady had very blonde hair. He was about 5'10", had dark hair, and was wearing a black bomber-style jacket.
At the same time, further up Walcott Street, was this another couple? Was it Melanie? Or could it have been you?
If she died very quickly, didn't suffer, wasn't frightened, if that could be proven, that would be of a source of relief to Pat and myself. And we'd obviously like to be able to carry out that last ritual of a formal funeral of some sort.
Because she was such a lovely person and gave us so much joy, it just seems so unfair that she's left somewhere with no one to care for her. And we would just really, truly love the opportunity to do that last thing, because we might not be here forever, and who will do it then?
Well, here's an artist's impression of the man seen at Cadillac's talking to a girl who might have been Melanie. He's in his late 20s, about 5'10", with dark hair, a tanned complexion, and with an earring in his left ear. Someone must know what happened to Melanie, and police believe that by now they will have talked about it. There's a reward of £10,000, incidentally, for information leading to a conviction, so if you have any suspicions, do call. The numbers to call are the incident room on 01275 816 776. That's 01275 816 776, or of course 0500 600 600 here in the studio.
Our lines here are going to be open for well over an hour yet, and we'll be taking calls till midnight. Numbers are listed on CFAX on page 619, as well as on our website at www.bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. You can mail us on the internet at Crimewatch UK at the BBC, that's cwuk@bbc.co.uk.
And if you've been the victim of a crime and you'd like someone to talk to, then support line numbers are also on CFAX, page 619. If you have information on any crime, try Crime Stoppers. You can call anonymously if you want on 0800 555 111. Now, there's no update programme tonight, but we'll be back with our regular Crime Watch in 2 weeks' time. That's on Tuesday, October the 6th.
Calls to Crime Watch work, even if it takes time. Millions of people are out there right now trying to help, so don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.